Coach, Philadelphia's played most of the season without Joel Embiid. What do you see in their style of play, and what are you anticipating tonight without him?
They're still a good team. You know, they got a lot of guys that can put the ball on the floor and attack the rim. They can shoot threes. They still like to get out in transition. They're a good team with them. Obviously, they're a really good team because he's a Hall of Famer, All NBA selection. But without him, they have some guys that are capable of stepping up. I think it was game 2. They won against Boston without him. So they've won some big games without him.
Mike, over here, the playoffs are all about adjustments from a coaching standpoint. When you have such a big victory over a team and it's still early in the series, how much tweaking do you do going into the next game? How much is it proactive versus reactive? I guess can you just kind of take me through the psyche of a coach preparing for a game 2 after a big game 1 win?
Yeah, you always go through the hypotheticals and you try to determine which one makes sense to act on. But no matter if you win or lose, you got to go through the film and look at the facts. But then you also got to throw the hypotheticals out there, and it's just a matter of determining which ones you want to give to the guys. But it's no set science of if we win by hypothetically 25, we're going to change 3 things, as opposed to if we win by 5, we're going to change 6 things. You know, so it's just a feel throughout the course of the series when you win and lose. Yeah.
With Tyrese Maxey, obviously, the floor maybe opens up a little bit, but you're always paying attention to Maxey regardless of who's out there.
Yeah.
With no Embiid, is that even more of an emphasis because how dangerous he could be with that open floor?
Yeah, you know, Tyrese is dangerous with, like you said, with or without Embiid. I don't think there's been a single time that he's had back-to-back games where he scored under 25 points this year. So we know that he's going to be ultra aggressive. He's more than a capable passer. Paul George is going to be aggressive. Edgecombe's going to be aggressive. You know, those guys probably see it as an opportunity of more touches for themselves. When you have a guy like Embiid out, you know, those guys are all capable of stepping their games up to another level. And then, you know, when you talk about, you know, Bona and Drummond, both those guys have played very well against us, and they're both different, and they do different things. You know, they may blitz more, they may switch more, but you know, the game can be different, definitely from them, and we just have to make sure that we're ready to do what we're capable of doing and what we've seen throughout the course of the year.
Mike, I think it was in September where you had mentioned that you were trying to recruit OG for the Nigerian national team, and it didn't go through. But what is it about his game?
This was before the.
Yeah, when you.
I tried to recruit him before the Olympics.
Anyway, but just in terms of OG and just how you envisioned his role on this team, in what ways maybe did you anticipate expanding what it was that you had seen him do previously to this year? How good, I guess, you've seen him expand his game this year?
I mean, he was freaking good back then, and he's freaking good now. You know, at that size and athleticism and IQ, feel, two-way player. You know, you want a guy like OG on your team. And as we continue to move along, you really get a better sense or better feel of his feel for the game. You know, he's more than a willing passer. At his size, he causes matchup problems because you can't really always switch a smaller guy on him because he's pretty big and strong and athletic around the basket, especially if the spacing is right. He can play pick and roll. You know, he can come off a pin down and make plays. So these are things that you learn more and more about him as you kind of go along and see him in different situations. You know, he's a quiet guy, so you got to observe more than anything else because he's like a few other guys on our team, the ultimate definition of sacrifice where you just go and do your job as best you can to try to help the team win.
On something like Embiid today, where the injury pops up game day, and literally at 12:30 he was probably playing, at 1 o'clock he's out. How does that how soon do you guys find that out? How quickly do you start, I don't know, changing the report, anything like that? What's the process?
We find out the same time you guys do, and it trickles down from there. Sometimes Derek will call me, sometimes he'll text me, sometimes one of my coaches may hit me. A lot of times my coach is there and they know better than I am. Like, I don't really, like I said before, I don't watch or read social media when it comes to that stuff. So my coaches know a lot of times because it gets out there. You guys got quick fingers or thumbs, and so you kind of take it in stride and as best you can, you try to address it, but you have to always have in mind, some of the ways that you may play based on their different personnel. And even before the series started, when Embiid was playing, Bona's a pretty important player for them, and he's different than Embiid. He's different than Drummond, and so we've talked about him. So we've already addressed him before the series, and whether Embiid plays or not, we'll continue to address him throughout the course of the series because of the stuff that he can bring to the table for him.
Mike, to James's question about like playoffs being about adjustments, do you almost have to put yourself in Nick Nurse's shoes and try to stay a step ahead and try to think when you're looking at the game one film where you might be able to be exploited and think that he sees the same thing too when you try to get ahead of it? And as far as like the chess match that doesn't happen in the course of a regular season.
Yeah, and basically that's where the hypotheticals come up. Yourself, your coaches, even the players, because I like to empower everybody. Constantly bring up, well, what if this? What about that? How about changing this? Or what do you think about that? And so you do that, as much as you can or as much as it makes sense. And like you said, you just got to decide which ones you want to present in front of the team and kind of go from there. Nick's been in, he's a championship level coach. He's been in a ton of playoffs. He's not afraid to throw anything at you. He'll throw a box in one. He'll throw a triangle in two. They've thrown a box in one at us before, and they did it in the finals. And when I was with Golden State, they did it to Steph when we played up in Toronto, and so all those types of things you have to be ready for. You have to address and kind of go from there. But I'm not going to guess everything that he's trying to do. Just like I'm sure he probably won't guess everything that I'm trying to do, but I know he's definitely trying, and we're definitely trying.
Hi, Mike. I hope Mitchell's all right. He's on a Game 2 injury report as questionable with an illness. I was wondering if you're expecting him to play, or what he's sick with, or who has the final say on if he suits up.
I don't know. I know he's sick, and that will be up to the doctor or performance group, the doctors, and then him at the end of the day. But I know just as much as you do. Do you know any more? Okay.